Okay, so we have another bedroom feminist here, guys. This one is at least well-produced. It's almost a music video. It's pretty good quality. Her name is YesReneau. Think you're not a feminist, you're wrong, of course, because we all are.
You are a feminist.
No, I'm not. I believe in equal rights for everybody, but I'm not a feminist.
If you read the dictionary definition for it and agree that you are this.
Well, your dictionary definition of this says a person who supports the advocacy of women's rights on the ground of equality of the sexes. You forgot part 2, though. Organized activity on behalf of women's rights and interests. Isn't it convenient that you left the second part of the definition out of your definition? I wonder if that was on purpose.
Now, we could fight day or night over whether equality or equity fits just right.
Yeah, neither one of those is what you're talking about. Yes, you're talking about socialism. You're talking about equal outcome. Regardless of what choices women make, there should be no consequences. So if you take gender studies at Harvard, speaking of privilege, you're not going to get paid as much as an engineer. It's just that simple. You see, you don't like that. You don't, because there should be no consequence for women for anything they do. You see, that's really what you're talking about.
But instead of battle, I'd rather rattle off a list of the gist.
Okay.
You are a feminist.
I'm not a fucking feminist. You can say it until you're blue in the face, YesReneau. I am not a feminist. People who believe in equal rights do not have to identify with a toxic ideology intent on destroying the Western world.
If you believe in a woman's right to receive education, hold office, vote, own property, protect herself, earn equal pay, but note,
you've had all that since far before you, probably even before your parents were born. Women were given equal rights under the law in the United States. The same with black people. We had a bunch of civil rights acts in the 60s. In the 60s. That was almost 60 years ago.
This list isn't exhaustive, but I'm exhausted of people who can't be bothered to open a dictionary or do a simple Google search.
Why don't you do a simple Google search? Let's do a couple things here. Let's see, the Clary Act, actual reports of rape on college campuses. Okay, yeah, hey, there's the data. It shows your bullshit of 1 in 5 is absolutely wrong. The wage gap, how it is calculated. Boom, 29 million results in a half a second. Why don't you, as a feminist, instead of just believing the bullshit your dusty old fossil teachers in college in your women's studies program tell you, why don't you try a Google search and see, you might find some facts there?
I mean, come on, it's just one word. Yeah. It's not like I'm asking you to go full out nerd.
You are throwing down some serious rhymes there, Reneau.
I must be geeking, because even when some people read it and fall under the umbrella of feminist, they'll still insist that they're not.
Is Donald Trump a feminist? Did you notice the State of the Union address a couple weeks ago? He declared, great things for women, and he's all for women's rights. He's a feminist, right? So you're going to welcome into your camp. You're going to give him his own presidential pussy hat and let him march in your parades. Is that right?
You know what? Maybe they're not under the umbrella, because clearly they're dripping with denial. Delusion?
I see we're getting projection here. Denial and delusion and fantasy. Let's see. Mythical wage gap, which has been disproven rather recently once again by your own privileged school, Harvard. Yeah, it's just about careers chosen and hours worked. Oh, and again, it's not sexism. The mythical patriarchy, the myth of white privilege. Because I'm a man, I just get handfuls of privilege because I have a dick. That's the kind of crap you have to believe in to be a feminist.
Let's settle on confusion. Shun the fiction, embrace the fact. Fact is, you're a feminist.
You don't know what a fact is. Facts are anathema to feminism because they hurt your little worldview, the little bubble you live in. Oh no, all of this stuff is still going on, just like it was in the 50s. My gender studies professor, who's 97 years old, told me so.
If you know that what isn't is.
Okay.
Expecting special treatment for women.
You can't find one thing or two or a handful of things specifically the government supports only for women, such as scholarships, such as the Violence Against Women's Act. You see, that's kind of specific. You know, how about special cutouts for welfare? How about Section 8 housing? How about all of these things not available to most men? Not one thing.
Come on, we've been over this.
Yeah, I know. What you would say is, well, you know, hamster, you're right. There are these special things, but it was due to historical oppression, you evil bastard.
The definition didn't expand its width to read equality, but more for one.
Yeah, it did. Yes, it did. The Equal Rights Amendment, which wasn't passed, there was something called the Hayden Rider. You know what the Hayden Rider? Well, of course you don't. Because, you know, that would be a fact, and you have a little grasp of those. Hayden Rider would say, oh yeah, we're going to pass the Equal Rights Amendment, except everything women have today cannot be changed. In other words, all the cutouts when the Hayden Rider was introduced in the 40s, they were to be protected
Of the sexes.
But you see, women have always been oppressed. Don't forget that.
By gosh, gossip is infectious.
Just like cancer, and just like feminism, and both toxic.
So, let's lay another issue to rest.
Yeah.
Yes? Mm-hmm. Being a feminist does not mean that you hate men.
Because there are some privileged men in the United States, feminism believes all men are privileged. All of us, every single one of us, because of the color of our skin, white, privilege. You indeed hate men as a whole, as a collective.
You might hate certain people of the opposite sex, like maybe a guy who once was a lover but now is an ex.
But it's perfectly fine for feminists to call all men evil, rapists, abusers, harassers, violent, toxic masculinity. All men have this, every single one of us.
But that doesn't mean you have to hate all of them.
You see, but if we say there's a handful of really toxic radical feminists and we say, we don't want to be, well, we're not all like that. Yeah, how many times have we said that over and over and over again? All men are not privileged. Fuck you, you're a misogynist.
Amen. Yeah. Hey, men, speaking of which, guys can also be feminists. I mean, that should be clear from the definition, but I've got a sneaking suspicion that most people don't read that.
Yeah, we're stupid and uneducated. We're not woke is what it is, guys. We're not woke enough for this woman here because we just can't even read the definition.
That's how we end up with.
I mean, do you believe the arrogance of this person? Just the condescension and arrogance is just it's almost too much.
Stuff like this myth. I can't be a feminist because of the way I behave. I shave.
You know what's important? It's not whether you shave your armpits or your legs. I could give a fuck less. That is not what matters. Feminism, as a collective, wants socialism. They want to destroy the Western world. Now they want to destroy capitalism and go for equal outcome, not equal opportunity. You see, that's why we don't like feminism. It's not because you don't shave your freaking armpits.
That sentence? That's a real thing.
It's a real thing, but it's not important. Do you understand the difference?
Even now, in 2019.
Current year.
Not kidding. Not joking. Not even enjoying this.
Yeah, we aren't either.
I wish I could dive deeper. Talk about feminism somewhere other than the shallow end.
Yeah, it would be nice, but I know what would happen if I asked you about that. You know what would happen? Renew. You would say, you need to educate yourself. It's not my job. Isn't that what you would say?
But I can't do that till we all learn to doggy paddle.
I'm not a feminist, and you cannot shame men into calling themselves feminists. We believe in equal rights, and we're not feminist. It's very simple. Link below. James Maxwell, thank you for listening.